Flying cars are becoming a reality. Companies such as Joby, Archer, Eve Holding, and Lilium are some of the major players producing air taxis, small commercial airplanes that can make shorter flights on demand. It's a story in this week's Barron's. Ben, I recently bought a vehicle with tires for pavement. Am I behind the times? Are flying cars the new thing?
Look, Jack, the cool kids are not calling them flying cars anymore.
Ooh, okay.
They're calling them eVTOLs. I have to look at my paper because I can't remember this. It's electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. They're kind of the new helicopter. And they're better than helicopters because they're cleaner, they're quieter, they're cheaper, and they might even be safer. What makes them possible is the fact that the batteries that we're using in electric vehicles, they're so much improved that they can actually be used in these kind of vehicles too. Got carbon fiber, which has gotten very light, which has made it so that you don't need as much to lift one of these flying cars, oops, I said it, off the ground. But you also have computers that are small enough that have worked in airplanes that can now go to this size. And so it's a really big deal for it. And you have some stocks that went public in 2021. They had a tough time. But you have two, Joby Aviation and Archer Aviation, that have actually staged a pretty nice comeback this year. And they're the ones to really watch.
Alrighty, and we have somebody to talk about that. Joining us now is one of the key players developing this, Joby Aviation founder and CEO, JoeBen Bevirt. And look at that, he's in a hangar, joining us from Santa Cruz, I believe. JoeBen, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here.
So let's start with the basics. You have a partnership with Uber. So can I take an app on my phone, call a flying car? Where would I pick it up? How far will it take me? Can you give us some of this info?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So again, we're launching our service as an air taxi service. As you mentioned, we're partnered with Uber. And so you can either use the Uber app or the Joby app to book a seamless multimodal trip from your door to the vertiport, and then from the vertiport to your destination. And so we're really excited about that. We're also excited to be partnered with Delta, the world's leading global airline. And we're looking to leverage the infrastructure investments that Delta has made in New York and LA, more than $10 billion on those new terminals. And we're excited to put infrastructure, Joby infrastructure, at those terminals.
Real quick, can you give us a sense of where you think the early use cases are going to be? Is this sort of a trip to the airport, because obviously one can land there? Is it more to the Hamptons from New York? What do you see as the first use cases?
Both of those are amazing opportunities. As you mentioned, the airport routes have large amounts of bidirectional demand, and so we're able to fill seats, both going to the airport and going to the city.
Gotcha. This is Carlton English. Just a question for you. Very exciting prospects here, but I'm a little concerned about maybe battery life for some of these vehicles or just general safety. What can you say to that?
Yeah, so we've really leaned in on this. We've been working on this for 15 years, and we've done extensive work on both battery life and battery safety. Got an incredible battery team. In our labs, we've demonstrated more than 10,000 flights before we need to replace those batteries. And we charge them after a trip from, say, JFK to Manhattan in less than 6 minutes.
Jacob Sonnenschein here. You already have a contract with the Defense Department for 2024. So what exactly are the use cases going to be?
Yeah, so we've been working with the Department of Defense, first with the Defense Innovation Unit, and then with AppWorks and Agility Prime. And so that work started in 2016. That's been expanding progressively over the even just the last few weeks. We've had large numbers of folks from many different branches of the military who've been here in Marina at our flight test and manufacturing facility, seeing firsthand what this transformational new technology can mean for the Department of Defense.
So, JoeBen, back to Jack here. I assume in the early going there won't be too many of these things flying, but I've always wondered, once we really have traffic in the air, how does that work in terms of lanes? I mean, who's on the right, et cetera? How do you manage that sort of thing?
Yeah, so that's the really exciting piece about the work that the FAA has been doing. They put a plan in place where we can have significant operations with a large number of aircraft as soon as 2025. and then we can really scale that to the next level in time for the Olympics in 2028, and where this becomes a ubiquitous form of transportation.
JoeBen Bevirt, thanks so much for joining the show.